You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara IceDogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Perlini! Overtime! IceDogs win! Hosing! To Akil Thomas. Thomas has the angle coming in. He scores!
52.1 seconds to go. Do you love it, Niagara?
Welcome into another Niagara IceDogs game recap on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all four of their great Niagara Region locations. Thank you to those tuning in today live and on-demand audio on your favorite listening platform on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Brandon Caputo and Cam Halbert are with you to break down a difficult one for the Niagara IceDogs on a Saturday night against the Kingston Frontenacs, ending their season series with the Fronts. Not the result that the IceDogs and their players and head coach Ben Boudreau were looking for, as they fall 8-1 to the Frontenacs tonight. We'll get post-game breakdown of that. We'll also speak with IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau with his candid comments on his team's play over the weekend, also losing 7-2 to the Mississauga Steelheads last night. Guys, make sure to follow the podcast on X at Dog Pound Podcast. And you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're doing a lot more of our reels and video content on there as well. And our YouTube channel by searching Armchair GM Sports Network. All of our episodes are there on demand as well in video and audio. So on this game recap today, Cam, start off, I mean, it's one of those tough ones with a young IceDogs group, but you'd hope that the compete level would be there because we've seen it on most nights. But the last couple of nights have been a little bit more difficult in that department.
Yeah, and it's the bigger issue, I think, was that it was the start of the games where, like, the first periods haven't really been an issue, whether it be maybe they give up a goal early, but by the end of the first period, it's usually pretty close or they settle down. This really reminded me of last year. I mean, people barely got in their seats before they gave up a goal 8 seconds into the game. And it really didn't take, or there was really no adjustment period. It was an ugly one, pretty much from start to finish, and definitely seems like the season is starting to wear as we get near the end, which is frustrating. Which I'm sure for the players and the coaching staff and management as well, because going into this game only 8 points back of a playoff spot, but you've only got 11 games remaining now, so things are definitely dwindling, but still technically alive. But definitely wanted to see a better effort tonight.
Yeah, the last two games, it's tough sledding when you're trying to pull within Barrie, and you play them twice coming up. But, again, when you keep losing games and Barrie keeps, pulling away, it's just at what point is it just too much ground to overcome? And they've dug themselves this hole, and, as long as they're mathematically playing in meaningful games, as we talked about in our episode last week, you'd like to see them finish strong down the stretch instead of, limping to the finish line like we saw the last couple of years.
No, absolutely, yeah. And that was what's disappointing about this one. A great crowd on hand as well. And like I said, the start, we've seen the start where they've given up a goal relatively early in the first couple minutes of a game. But like I said, usually they start to get, their systems in place, their forward check, they tighten up defensively. This was a game where if Robertson or Flores, whoever was in net, didn't really matter, wasn't absolutely locked in to drag them through the first period, this is what was going to happen, and we've seen it all season long. However, on tonight, Robertson really wasn't able to carry the load for them in the first period.
The lineup, really nothing different for the IceDogs as happened that last night against the Mississauga Steelheads in Mississauga. Mason Ray missed a second straight game for the IceDogs, and Mike Potterloo and Andrew Wysick were both out of the lineup, which has been a common theme in the last little bit here. But, Cam, I'll let you quickly touch on the lineup if you've got anything to kind of bring up there. They started off with the Robrick, Ethan Zada, and Matthew Paris line up front, and the starting D pair was Connor Federico and Ryan Van Netten. Again, only 5 defensemen dressed.
Yeah, I mean, we can't really get into the scoring recap on the IceDogs side, but I guess we can talk about the lineup overall and how it performed throughout. I thought the only noticeable line offensively was the fourth line, and that's not a good thing on any night, but I'll give him credit. I mean, head coach Boudreau has been very adamant on holding everyone accountable and rewarding players that are, really carrying the weight. And I thought that in the first period, the fourth line looked the best. They had the only really sustained offensive pressure, and then by the third period, they were getting regular shifts, and I hazard a guess that they were probably the most played line in the third period, as they should have been, because the other lines just really did not come to play against Kingston, and Kingston is not first or second in the division. It's not like this was a powerhouse and they just kind of flexed on the IceDogs. This was a team that was I believe coming into this in seventh place. So it's just a really tough performance in a game that against a team that they have struggled mightily against the last 2 games.
Yeah, and that's a team in Kingston. They're in kind of no man's land. They can't move up.
They can't move up, can't move down.
But they look much better under new head coach Troy Mann with the way that they're able to kind of cycle the puck, and we're going to get into that in a little bit here. But we'll get to our game stats tonight, brought to you by J&L Flooring. If they get a better deal anywhere else, you don't know Jack. Contact their Niagara Falls location to begin your quality flooring project today. The IceDogs were outshot by Kingston 33-26. Kingston actually with 11 shots in each of the 3 periods for a total of 33. Niagara 26. The power play, the special teams, again, continues to haunt the Niagara IceDogs. With that last-ranked power play, they were 0 for 3 on the man advantage tonight. Kingston was 2 for 5. And in the face-off department, the Frontenacs led the way in that department as well, 38-23 in favor of the road team, the Frontenacs. As far as the IceDogs, Ethan Zotto was the best one on the dot tonight, 9 of 16 for the IceDogs rookie, leading the way in the face-off department, so you like to see that. Did get some top-line minutes tonight for the IceDogs and Ethan Zotto, but, the power play, once again, just anemic for the Niagara IceDogs. They're sitting, I think it's almost lower than 10%. They put out Levin, Bryant, Robrick up front with Chanowski and Kevin He on the first power play, and we saw Ben Boudreau make some statements in the last couple of games. We saw it in Oshawa where he put out his quote-unquote fourth line to send a message to his man advantage unit that things were getting the job done, and they even had a 5-on-3 tonight, and something's just not clicking there.
Absolutely. I thought, and it's funny because they put out the second line for the majority of their second and third power play, I believe, and it was the only one that actually had a cycle and a forecheck on it, and I don't know what it is about that top unit. I saw a nice one-timer from Kevin, seeing him being utilized at the point. I've talked about this all year long. Without a defenseman that really has that one-timer capability, they don't really have that luxury in terms of the power play. That's definitely going to be something that needs to be worked on into next year. Again, I don't know if it's something that is just so simple as to just I don't want to say abandon their system in terms of the plays they're trying to set up, because clearly they're just I don't know if it's they get into their formation and then don't move enough to get open, or if they're trying to force it somewhere so they have one read or maybe even a second one and it's being taken away. I noticed Lewinsky on Robrick the entire time that Robrick was sitting in his face-off dot one-timer spot, and he couldn't really get free of anything to kind of get any sort of shot open, and obviously that's a look that they're going to want to utilize. You mentioned, or something I want to bring up in terms of as the season winds down, I think that looking towards the future and how some things that we want to see improve or change over the offseason, whether it be personnel or just growth among the roster players we have. I talked about it throughout this lineup a little bit, or the game a little bit with you. When they got cycled on behind the net against Kingston, they could not do anything if Federico wasn't on the ice. And I mentioned this to you that I think that that was the first time I've seen where losing Sobolev and Ride is clearly evident was in that sequence, and Kingston did it a number of times. They had a few goals that started that was literally just a pass out in front, and they could not stop the cycle behind the net. And we don't have the huge banger defenseman other than Federico, who was great at knocking out the puck. Because every time that Federico was on the ice, he would stop the cycle by just crushing someone behind the net, and that was what they needed. And obviously, again, the trades for Ride and Sobolev made sense, so I'm not knocking them on that. Those trades did definitely need to happen. But again, I think it just goes to show next year we won't have Federico, and the defensemen that we will, no matter what, have are very important. Frolov and Podrekar, we've talked about ad nauseum throughout the season. They've been fantastic as rookies throughout, and obviously Frolov being a 16-year-old rookie, very difficult as a defenseman. But they're just not of the very physical variety. Missing Wysick is clearly the big linchpin here on the back end defensively. It's just very difficult, especially when you don't really add Ray and Janowski, but losing Sobolev and Ride is obviously going to eventually catch up with you when it comes to this team. But I think that's something that hopefully they look for in the offseason, whether it be just size on the back end, either someone that has a massive one-timer. Or just someone that can really play physically. Like I mentioned, I think that a lot of the overagers maybe is probably where they're going to use it on the back end and hopefully look for forwards up front on the draft. But we'll wait and see.
And having 6 defensemen would help also with that.
I mean, that's all. But that hasn't been the case for a while. This whole season with whether it be injuries and then everything like that. So that's why I really didn't bring up that. But.
Yeah, and Ivan Galyanov, Ethan Zada, Matthew Paris, Artem Frolov, and Alex Asadorian was the second power play unit, and they did generate a few chances when they did get on the ice, but the IceDogs continue to struggle on the man advantage. We'll get to our scoring summary tonight, brought to you by the Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work in Niagara since 1983. Check out their up-to-date job board at ehc.on.ca to find your next work opportunity today. Thankfully, we don't get the goal highlights for the Kingston Frontenacs goals, or we'd be here all night. So that's 8 goals for Kingston. I'm not going to name them all off, Cam, but they did score 3 in the first. They scored 4 in the second and 1 in the third. Charlie Robertson did get the yank tonight, even though Owen Flores was a little bit banged up after getting run into in Mississauga last night. Robertson gave up 5, and then Flores came in and gave up 3. But not 1 ounce is this the goaltender's fault with what happened tonight, especially 8 seconds in, Kingston scores, and then they score another one within the first 2 minutes. It's been a tough night and tough weekend for Flores and Robertson, but not to their doing.
No, yeah, exactly, and I think that we're starting to see, maybe as the season winds down, we kind of were waiting for this. As Flores started, 15 games in a row, did a couple 3-3s, I believe, throughout the season, at least one that I can think of, and obviously, he's going to want to get in there at every chance he can, but obviously he's going to need, as the season goes along, he's got to wind it down and things like that, and Robertson, that's tough. You let a goal in 8 seconds in, regardless of how it goes in. You're not settled. Now and again, with the way this team plays, that the goaltenders need to be good. They're not going to outscore their problems on most nights. And, I think that's just tough because, yeah, again, they were all over him in that first period, and then that second goal goes in basically 2 minutes into the game, and it's already 2-0 with 18 minutes to go in the first. It's just, again, not on them. But I think this was a whole team effort where, again, it looked like a lot like last year. They put their head down and just were ready to get the game over with.
Yeah, I got to give credit to the Kingston Frontenacs. Jacques Dubois scored 2 of their first 3 goals, and then Gabriel Frasca scored their 6th, 7th, and 8th goals for his 12th, 13th, and 14th of the season. So, however way you want to say it, the Kingston Frontenacs were up 8-0 in this game, and with 10 seconds left, I guess you send the fans home somewhat happy because they get a cheeseburger goal. Ryan Van Etten just kind of takes a point shot, and it deflects off of a Kingston defender and gets past Mason Vicari. So I'm sure Troy Mann would not be happy about that. And something I want to mention, Troy Mann was up here in the third period, the head coach of the Kingston Frontenacs. He was down there for the first 2 periods. I don't know if he got kicked out or something, but I've never seen a head coach come up here after the second period. But again, don't know what the situation was with that, but really weird to see the Kingston head coach sitting behind us here in the press box to start the third period. I don't know if he got thrown out or
I'm wondering
saying
if
something.
It was let the assistant finish the game, like maybe just like a hat tip. Like I'm not really sure on that one. So that's odd. That is odd.
I would have liked to ask Troy Mann that question, but again, we don't really know what happened there. But regardless, Ryan Van Etten gets the IceDogs lone goal there and breaks Mason Vicari's shutout late. But it's an 8-0 game, and you got to give those guys credit for at least trying to get in the offensive zone and do something late, right?
Honest to God, that was a reward. Like that, them scoring, that line scoring, was just more about reward. Like they deserved a goal throughout the game, and it's just funny. The fourth line was the best line today, and ends up being the one that gets the goal. And just a tough game. Probably the most difficult. I mean, they lost 10-0 to Kingston. But this one was, again, knowing that the playoffs are still very slim, but it's not out of reach, and we're running out of games. They're at home. I mean, we almost had almost 5,000 fans.
Yeah, I think
it was almost a packed house. I think we had just under 5,000.
It was 4,549.
That's crazy for a last-place team, by the way, which is why first of all, I love Niagara fan base, but it just goes to show that the fan base shows up regardless of what's going on the ice, and this team for the most part has been rewarding the fans that have come out every game, just not tonight.
And when the Ice Dogs don't have their best compete level, which we've seen most of the year, and they go up against a Kingston team like this that is just so relentless on the forecheck and the way that they cycle the puck, and the way that Troy Mann obviously pre-scouted the Ice Dogs. You got to tip your cap to the opposing coaches because they did a good job in finding the areas that Niagara's still trying to work on as a young team.
But yeah, like I said, they just lived behind the net, and it looked like the Ice Dog defensemen just weren't able to knock them loose off the puck unless Federico was out there, and that kind of checks out again with the way that not that they're softer players by any means, but they're definitely stick better on the sticks, better defending the rush and things like that. But, it's, like you said, taking advantage of the pre-scout for sure of the Ice Dogs.
4 NHL-drafted players on this Kingston Frontenacs team: Ethan Medemo of the Buffalo Sabres, Paul Ledwinski of the Chicago Blackhawks, Quentin Burns of the St. Louis Blues, and Roman Schmidt, big boy from the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Huge.
He is a man. I want to see his birth certificate because he just looked like a man against boys out there. Nobody could move. Big number 76, and he's a guy that they picked up from the Kitchener Rangers, and he looks like a nice overage import ad for this Kingston Frontenacs blue line. Absolutely.
Like this is if Kingston and Hamilton, Brantford get into a playoff series, like it's just going to be heavy, And he looks like someone that's going to perfectly fit that. I can't wait for every time we look at look at all the NHL drafted players on the opposing team. I'm just excited about what's coming for the Ice Dogs.
Absolutely. So we're going to hit our break, and we're going to come back. We're going to get our post-game with Ice Dogs head coach Ben Boudreau, and we're going to get Cam's player of the game for the Ice Dogs tonight on a tough night. So stay right here. We're right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara Ice Dogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family.
Pets bring immense joy to our homes, becoming an integral part of our families. But this living, loving experience often requires a little extra care and attention. That's where Global Pet Foods comes in, with owners and staff ready to support you every step of the way. Check out one of their locations today: 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, or 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. Proud show sponsor of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of the Niagara Ice Dogs.
Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicles in top running condition through their services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers came to expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award-winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers, who can feel confident they'll get the trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your cars. To find out more or to book service, contact them today. 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012.
Since 1999, Niagara Denture Clinic has been helping thousands of patients achieve natural-looking smiles with the confidence to show them off. Sean Battelle and his wife Anne, both licensed denturists, bring a wealth of skill and experience to the warm and friendly atmosphere to their Niagara Falls location at 5501 Drummond Road. And their on-site Niagara Hearing Clinic offers free hearing tests and a variety of services to fit your needs. This family-run practice takes pride in providing superior care and service to their patients, along with the best premium products available on the market. Get the best work done at a more reasonable price. Niagara Dental Clinic is here to help. Protect your teeth with a mouth guard, replace missing teeth, and get better hold with your dental implants. Call them today for a free consultation at 905-353-1552 or check them out online at niagaradentalclinic.com. Niagara Dental Clinic, creating natural smiles in the Niagara region for 25 years. J&L Flooring is Niagara's specialty flooring and design company. They take great pride and provide elite customer service and support. With a beautiful showroom, great pricing, and a wide variety of truly unique products, J&L Flooring is your specialty flooring and decor boutique shop. All of their products are environmentally friendly and responsibly produced so you can feel good about your flooring choices. Their goal is to build authentic relationships based on honesty and integrity that they foster with respect and authenticity. Offering a unique and wide range of quality products presented by a knowledgeable and patient team, they simplify the process to make your life easier and to make your home more beautiful. Visit them at 4424 Montrose Road in Niagara Falls or find out more at jnlflooring.com. If you think you can get a better deal anywhere else, you don't know Jack at J&L Flooring. Are you looking to hire? Let the Niagara Employment Help Center save you valuable time and money by making your hiring process easier. Their services include free job postings in-house and on their website, fill job vacancies quickly and efficiently, access to a bank of potential employees, reduce employment costs, and financial incentives may be available to offset the cost of new hire training. Check out the website at ehc.on.ca or call 905-358-0021 for more information. The Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work since 1983.
This is Alex Asadorian.
Hey, it's Ryan Roberg.
This is Ivan Gallianov.
This is Gavin Bryant.
And this is the
Dog Pound Podcast,
the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome back to part two of today's Niagara IceDogs game recap. Brandon Caputo and Cam Halbert are with you to break down the IceDogs loss against the Kingston Frontenacs here tonight at the Meridian Centre in front of almost 5,000 fans here in Niagara. Came out to support this team, and they always do throughout a tough season, and we love the IceDog fans for that. Guys, make sure to follow the podcast on X at Dog Pound Podcast. And thank you to those today listening on demand on your favorite audio platform. As well, go give us some love on our YouTube channel by searching Armchair GM Sports Network. All of our game recaps are on YouTube podcasts as well, and all of our post-game interviews are posted in video after this episode is released. So, Cam, before we get to IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau for our post-game, what do you think, I guess prediction, because you haven't heard this yet, what do you think that his biggest concerns are going to be about what you just saw tonight?
I can tell you, so there was a play that this is going to sum it up. So I was watching the third period, and I always love to watch Ben on the bench because he's very animated. Like you can visibly see or tell without him saying. It doesn't look like he's very loud because there's a lot of times where he's just watching.
He's stoic.
Exactly. And I'm sure he's loud in the dressing room, though. So there was a play in the third. Asadorian, who we have sang his praises for the last year and a half now, a play where he summed up the game. They were hemmed in their own zone, and he went to go dump it out. Wasn't a strong play. It was dumped out kind of down the center of the ice. It was kept in at the blue line by, I believe, it might have been Schmidt. And I immediately looked over at Ben, and he just looked skyward, shaking his head. And I was like, that is exactly what's going on, because that was basically this isn't working. I'm just going to flip this to, there is no forward-thinking play other than just blindly tossing it out of the zone, right? There's no, okay, let's get it out of the zone cleanly. Let's get a forecheck. Let's get up the rush. Let's get some numbers. It was, again, just team that's down by 7, head down, and then that's kind of what summed it up. It was a tough game, and I have a feeling that he is not going to love the efforts from the start of this one.
Well, let's get the listeners to it right now. Here is Ice Dogs head coach Ben Boudreau on our Wild Bills Auto Repair postgame, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road in Niagara since 2012 in honor of the late William Robert Hunter. Here is Ice Dogs head coach Ben Boudreau following the 8-1 defeat at the hands of the Kingston Frontenacs.
The last thing you want to do is dissect that. But, nobody comes out and tries to not win a game. Yeah. Nobody comes out and tries not to play well. So how do you explain what happened there? You're down 2-0, 2 minutes in.
Yeah, we're defeated mentally before we even start the game. I mean, we miss an assignment, first shot on net, 8 seconds in, and, you got to play the next 59 minutes and 52 seconds trailing when, it's your battle hard enough for every inch, every chance of offense. I mean, since the trade deadline, and you look at the goals and the defense, we haven't been able to put 6 full D. I mean, you show up battered and bruised, and mentally, you're already defeated before the start of the game, and then you get scored on your first shot of the game, and from there everything goes wrong. You get scored on your second shot, and then it just your belief goes right out the window. So you spend the next 58 minutes in the game with no belief that you can crawl back, and that's a tough 60 minutes to be a part of.
For sure. And as a coach, when you sense that, what can you do, or do you leave that up to the players? How do you approach that?
Oh, I mean, you never give up as a coach. You try to motivate and find a way to inspire, and you go in there, and obviously, the pre-scout for them was how they get in front of our net. We gave up 3 goals within 5 feet, and it's a compete factor, it's a talent factor, something that we can't match the other team, and they wanted it more, and they found a way to make more plays, and it's a struggle knowing that you don't have a sword in the fight. And the best analogy I can say is, I believe sometimes we feel like we're riding a donkey in a thoroughbred race right now, and every team we face is bigger, they're stronger, they're faster, and these are games down the stretch. They're getting ready for the playoffs, and they should win, and they're going to only get tougher from here on out. So it's a defeated mentality from a group that's been beat up all year here. So just calling a spade, finding belief right now that you can win is few and far between on the individual players. So as a coaching standpoint, you have to try to inspire and make them believe that they're good enough, and make them believe that they can play. But when you get scored on your first 2 shots 8 seconds in, and you're trailing 2-0 when you've been outscored by this team 18-1 over 6 periods, it's tough to fabricate that belief when you really have to believe it.
For sure. Now, as a player or coach at any level, have you ever gone anything through anything like this?
By far the toughest stretch in my coaching career, and I've been now a part of over 700 games in my career, and I can't remember a stretch like this. And so I feel for the players. I feel for our staff right now. This is a tough time to come to the rink every single day, as the season dwindles down, and feel like sometimes you don't have, like I said, a sword in the fight. So, but at the same time, you can't accept that. You can understand it as a coach, but you can't accept it. So you find a way to spend tomorrow finding a way to get to the drawing board on Monday, because we don't want to keep going where every home game is an embarrassment like that. And that's calling it what it was. It was an embarrassment tonight.
Yeah. When teams are fragile, when players are fragile, is there a different way to approach it than because when you're winning, you can almost be harder on them, right? Because you want more. But how much can you ask of a team when it's going through something like this?
Well, I mean, at this moment, you really want your younger guys to develop, and you want them to do it in a pressure-free environment. So if they make mistakes, you don't want them coming back to the bench afraid that they can't make the mistakes. This is the time now, rather when the season is on the line down in crunch time. So, I mean, when you look at our team right now, especially during the last 11 games, our young guys are going to get a ton of ice, and they're going to develop, and it's going to be tough because our younger guys are going up against playoff experienced teams that are ready to compete now. So we hope right now, as we deal with the rain to get to the sunshine, we just got to find a way to not give up. And although I do think that we did that tonight, we got to get back on the horse here on Monday and try to finish the race.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it.
Was the message when you pulled Robertson to put Flores in to try to give some sort of spark to the guys? Obviously not either goaltender's fault by any means, but just try to spark something from the guys on the bench.
No, I mean, I don't even fault Charlie giving up 5 goals on 14 shots. I mean, the team didn't play in front of him, and he had to take it on the chin and wear all 10 goals last time against Kingston. So, I mean, between 4.5 periods, he had 15 goals scored on him, and I can't fault him. I mean, our team didn't play in front of him, giving up grade A chances. And, we asked him to make the first one. The second one's, point blank in the slot. And we made a lot of young mistakes tonight and couldn't recover from 8 seconds in.
And when a team like that, cycles around down the net and they're working you down low and they're able to set up those plays where they find a guy right in front in the slot and wide open, as a coach, what can you tell the guys as far as trying to work against a team like that, because it's difficult for the young group?
I think your biggest thing, you're trying to get the kids not to believe or not to give up. That's the biggest thing. But you call a spade. I mean, the kids are smart out there. They know that we're outsized, we're outskilled, we're outmatched on a daily basis. And I don't think we have our players in a position to have success right now, and that's difficult. And so you want to protect them as a coach as much as possible, but at the same time too, I mean, you gotta realize where we're at. And right now we're an inferior team that's playing against teams that are ready to try to compete for a championship.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Well, there was Ice Dogs head coach Ben Boudreau on the Wild Bills Auto Repair postgame. Cam, I mean, we appreciate Ben Boudreau's honesty with us all season long, and tonight just a really tough one to be able to do there. Talked about this being the toughest stretch in his coaching career, which just looked up over 300 games he's coached in pro hockey here with Fort Wayne, and then here coming to Niagara as the head coach. It's been a tough stretch. We've got to find a way not to give up, and we're outmatched and outskilled on a nightly basis. So, I mean, really candid there.
No, absolutely. And if he's been nothing if he isn't honest, and that's it's always great to talk to him, because you're going to get an honest answer out of that, or out of him. And it is tough. He talks about that. They're inferior, they're undersized, and I think that. Speaking, he's very candid in the sense that most teams might not address that. Like, even if he doesn't say it, but he takes everything head on, and I think that's a good thing going forward, because he's always going to be honest and truthful to his squad. And this is going to be a difficult 10 games, because they've been in it the whole season, at least to get within an arm's reach. They've been fighting it nonstop, and it isn't going to get easier, because that's a good point that he brought up. All of these teams are just trying to get ready for the playoffs. You've got guys fighting for spots to be in the lineup. So even the guys on the lower lines and on a lot of these playoff teams, they're going to be going all out as the season winds down, and he's got to really let Zada and Robrick and the young and Gallianov kind of get run here to see what we've got going into next year, and it's going to be interesting to see how the next few games go.
I'm glad that he didn't throw his goaltenders under the bus tonight, because how can you? I mean, Robertson, if you look at the stat sheet, he gave up, 5 on 13 or somewhere around there. But again, when they're backdoor tap-ins and the opposition's working a cycle behind your net and leaving a guy wide open in the slot, I don't care if it's prime Carey Price out there. Nobody's going to be stopping those grade A+ scoring chances.
Well, that just goes to show again, because he's been critical of the goaltending at times, but this Ice Dogs team has, for the most part, been relentless in their effort from start to finish. How many 1-goal games did they lose? In the middle part of the season, where it was just were just missing that extra little bit to get them over the edge. And usually might have been in a case where a save here or there is gonna make the difference there. But no, I mean, in tonight it was not the case. There's no way. Obviously, your goaltender lets in 8 goals in total, and you could blame the goaltender on that. But this was clear that this was a team thing where they were just out of gas, or had no interest in trying to deal with Kingston after they put up a 10 spot.
Yeah, and it's just it's really difficult when you're trying not to limp to the finish line. That's what he's talked about here, is making sure that they finish off strong with the development and the coaching. They're doing a lot. They're doing a lot of coaching and a lot of teaching this year, and with such a young group. I mean, that's what Brandon Shaw and Damon Rasico and head coach Ben Boudreau and even some of the assistant coach or associate coaches as well, goaltender coaches, like everybody. It's very much a teaching year with such a young group, and learning the growing pains of what it takes. And you look at the opposition the last couple nights in Mississauga and Kingston, those are 2 playoff teams. So there's a lot you can learn from those games and take away the hard lessons.
We're in year 1 of our rebuild. Like that's that just it is what it is. I think last year was not year one of a rebuild. That was kind of a mess that they tried to patch it up as they go along, and it didn't work. And we didn't really acquire a ton of future assets last season. This year, they really focused on the draft class. The draft class has been great. We've talked about that nonstop throughout the year, and we've got some hope. We've got some hope with Kevin, and then we've got some hope with Rubrick in terms of NHL talent that will come through Niagara again. And once that sets in and players start to realize that, regardless, the fact that you could be last place, Kevin gets drafted. He's been on 2 teams. When his name gets called in the summertime, okay, and he gets drafted, that is one of the most, overcoming everything and just being a relentless worker. Isn't when it comes to fruition, because that's 2 last place teams. And when I say last place, last year was not a last place team. That was a worse, like bottom below out of the league. We've already got like 8 more points than we did last year, and we still got 11 games to go. So I think that's going to go a long way. And then next year, with the next draft class and the guys kind of growing together, I also think coming into the year next year that it is going to be with a sense of like, man, this team can make the playoffs. I think it's going to be very different from the start.
Well, we talked about it. It's almost unacceptable if they don't. And Ben Boudreau talked about it. He wishes he could wipe the slate clean and start the new season tomorrow, and that was a couple weeks ago. Obviously, it hasn't been the last couple of games haven't been good in that department, but everybody just kind of wants to start clean and start fresh with the group that they do have and the coaching staff that they have in there. They believe in that group. And they've gone through a lot of trials and tribulations this year, but I think they've learned a lot about themselves and those brothers that are standing side by side with them going to battle.
There's things in place for the future. Bryant is clearly a great captain for the team, and I don't want to shy away and say that everyone on the team had their worst game. Gavin he was going still. There was a couple times where you could see why he's the captain. And I think going into next year that we have that leadership in place, something that has been lacking over the last couple seasons. You have that leadership in place. You'll have Kevin, and then again we'll have another season of everyone kind of, maturing and things like that. You've also got a full season in training camp with head coach Boudreau, and I'm very excited to see that and the excitement around this team come October.
We don't have an Ice Dogs feature player interview tonight, but I'm going to turn it into something to put Cam on the spot here. We're going to say unsung hero tonight for the Ice Dogs, and player that really didn't get on the score sheet, but did impress Cam to a certain extent tonight despite the loss. Is brought to you by the Niagara Denture Clinic, creating natural smiles in Niagara for 25 years. Forgot to bring your mouth guard on the ice or lost a chiclet? Contact their licensed team of dental professionals in Niagara Falls to get your smile back on track. Cam, who would you say it was your unsung hero for the Ice Dogs tonight that gave a compete level from start to finish despite an 8-1 loss?
100% William Stewart. 100%. Like I said, the fourth line was the most noticeable, and he was going the whole night, created chances, got pucks on net, and again, just a great game from the fourth line. The whole fourth line, to be honest with you, and they get the goal at the end too. On top of that, I do want to give a quick shout out to Federico because he was physical no matter what, even when the rest of the team wasn't, and he is. It's sad that he's an overager, I'll be honest with you, because he's given everything he's got in his last few games in Niagara.
And, yeah, I mean, give a shout-out to William Stewart in that fourth line. Like you mentioned, they even got some power play time tonight and at least, try to generate some sort of momentum and some sort of cycle down low against this tough Kingston team that, did a great pre-scout on the Ice Dogs and came up with their deficiencies. I mean, we saw Kevin He come down the wing a couple of times and try to do what he did at the beginning of the season, try to go 1-on-4 there. And we saw, him have a couple bursts of speed down there on that right wing early on in the game. But, again, just, tough to do that on your own when you're Kevin.
It was a lot of just surviving the shift, dumping it out. And that was really what we saw at the end of last year. But again, this season, this team is so much different and better than last year's team. But there are still nights where we're seeing some growing pains.
And our player of the game tonight is brought to you by the Niagara Golf Lounge. Niagara's home for golf and sport year-round, located in the best Western Cairncroft Hotel in Niagara Falls. Visit NiagaraGolfVacations.com to learn more, to host an event, or to book your golf day today. Cam, who would you say, in a tough loss like that would be your Ice Dogs player of the game? Are you going to give it to Netter there getting the goal with 8 seconds left?
Yeah, 100%. Let's go. Absolutely.
Ryan Van Netten.
Yeah, throws it on net, and it was probably the most assisted by the other team goal that you're going to see, and that's what happens when you throw pucks on net.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to give it to those guys, and Van Netten, he's a guy that is a veteran on this team, but you can tell that he always tries from start to finish.
100%.
And he's always, the last one out. He's always, loading the bus and doing all the little things you don't see behind the scenes. Very good character guy. He's a very, respectful young man and plays and does everything on and off the ice the right way. So it's nice to see a guy like Ryan Van Netten, who's probably one of the longest tenured Ice Dogs now, because he started with the team last season, and we know how much turnover. Wysick's the longest tenured, but after that, Van Netten's got to be up there, and he only started the last season, and we saw what the high turnover was there. So it's nice to see Nutter get rewarded here with his 4th goal of the season, and just plays a quiet game, an easy game, but a guy that what you're going to get on a nightly basis reliably in the defensive end.
And he had a great job tonight. Again, there wasn't any really plays that you noticed where he kind of blew an assignment, kind of things like that. So great job from him, and congrats on the goal.
Well, Cam, thanks for doing this. Hopefully better results when we do this again next Thursday against the Ottawa 67s.
Absolutely, buddy.
That's going to wrap up another Niagara IceDogs game recap right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all 4 of their great Niagara Region locations. Thank you to those today tuning in and on-demand audio on your favorite listening platform. Give us some love on whatever one you chose to listen to us today. Give us a follow at Dog Pound Podcast, and give us a like on all of our socials, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. You know what the deal is. So until next time, this is Brandon Caputo for Cam Halbert bidding you adieu. Here from the Meridian Centre, the Ice Dogs lose this one 8-1 to the Kingston Frontenacs. We'll talk to you again next Thursday following the game against the Ottawa 67s. And this has been another episode of the Dog Pound Podcast right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network.